And so everybody's here to listen to you, listen to the wisdom that you have to give. And so let me just start quickly with intro. All right, so everybody, my name is Charity. I think I should come on video for the time being and then I could go off. Right. Yay, so this is me in the house. Hello, everybody. So we've started recording with our read.ai, taking notes and also picking the video feed as well for recording purposes. Yeah. All right, so my name is Charity Ofosuhene, and as you know, I'm one of the team members from Black Tech Lead, and our community is already filling up with this call, as you can see. And somebody keeps asking, what is Black Tech Lead? And our mission is just simple: live the future. Our community is very much focused on seeing and understanding what the future holds, and then we preparing ourselves for that future. And that very much involves, creating or, leading from the future, or creating a global tech strategy or global tech career strategy for ourselves. And so I'm so excited to have everybody here, and I'm not going to go into the details of what we do because Francis is already here. He's a very busy person. And for those of us who have actually read Francis' bio on our post, probably some of us have gone ahead to read much more about him. And we know that Francis has a very impressive career. When Francis, I always tell Francis, so I was telling Laura and Sarah the last time that when we were playing in a class, you were rather creating a global career strategy. And Laura and Sarah said that's for Francis and Clement. We call Clement Prof, and we call Francis talented kid because they were they had so much vision, and we were just playing in the class. We didn't know what was going on. We had to figure ourselves out along the way. Probably if we were smart, we would have started learning from Francis in class way before. And so you have had a very impressive career. And so I'm not going to just be on your way today. I'm going to let you take over. You can dictate the pace and how you want. And I know you said it should be very conversational. Our participants should ask questions, but of course you want to do some presentation first of all before we get started. So I'm going to leave the floor. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give an emoji of clap. Let's invite Francis to the floor. Yay.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Charity. Thank you, everyone. And I appreciate the efforts that went into organizing this. Yeah, as you've already told everyone, yeah, you and I were trying to get our masters at RIPS, and that was a very wonderful experience. 1 year of so much bonding, and that journey has led both of us in different directions. And so in this session, I just appreciate the opportunity to share my journey and some of the decisions I've made along the line, and hopefully that can encourage some people or let some people ponder. So how I want to do this is, yeah, I want it to be as conversational and interactive as possible, but I have some PowerPoint presentation, so I can put that on the screen. Ideally, I will go through this PowerPoint presentation for like the first 15 to 20 minutes, and then I can then open the floor for you, Charity, to moderate a discussion around any of the issues I think the participant might have. Is that a good approach, Charity?
Yes, yeah, because I know everybody have questions, so yeah.
Okay, then let me share my screen. Give me a second to work this out. Okay, so let me see. Share this. Yeah, so I have this presentation. Let me just go through with you. So, so my name is Francis Lavoe, as we've already heard. Um, let's just say the talk will be around how I've navigated this career that Charity is waxing lyrical about. Charity, can my screen be seen? Can you see my screen?
Yes, yes, you can see your screen.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Sure. So, Charity, one thing I want to let everyone know is when we were studying our masters, there was no exact roadmap for what we wanted to become. I mean, we were kind of chomping at the beats and looking at the next opportunities available. But one thing led to the other, and so in this presentation, I just want to tell you guys what my vision was even before I started my master's and some of the key timelines in my journey. Charity also mentioned to me that you guys wanted to know how I ended up with the World Bank, and so then I can tell you some roadmap for people looking into careers with intergovernmental organizations like World Bank, UN, IMF, and co. So, so even though there was no exact roadmap, one thing that I know has been guiding me is I always wanted to push my career into international development. So I am a statistician, and that's what led me to the University of Ghana studying demography with Charity. But I wanted to go into international development so badly that even if there were jobs coming from corporate Ghana, I was not very interested. So I have a two-pronged mission that has been guiding me. That's to support development partners in implementing data-driven policies and programs that target disparities. So again, if development partners are not able to convince me or me convince them that the initiative we are going to address will bring some equitable world, I'm not very much interested. And then later down the line, I'm becoming quite interested in connecting talents with opportunities in international development. So let's get into the key timelines. I call the 2009 to 2015 my preparation stage. I mean, that's the stage where I came to University of Ghana to get my undergrad. During the undergrad period, there was a lot of internships. This was just more like general career advice we were all receiving at the time, but I took it quite seriously. So I embarked on a number of internships. There was the national service, as those from Ghana will know very well. I got posted to some village that I can't remember the name for. But then I went to the National Service Secretariat to change the posting to a research firm because, again, the vision that I had, the mission that I had here, where I was posted, it was not going to help me. So I changed that. And then right after National Service, I came to get my master's with Charity, like you said. I started my PhD immediately after the master's. Maybe this is something Charity probably does not know about. Right after the master's, I moved straight to start a PhD program. But that PhD program started letting me see the potential areas that I could take my career. So I put the PhD on hold and then began charting a path towards international development. And between 2016 to 2018, a number of opportunities opened up. And 2019 to 2021 was more like the time periods where I started getting a lot of global recognition. And that eventually led me to the World Bank. So I will run through these timelines a bit. And as I already stated, there was a preparation stage where the courses that I took were very important. First of all, I didn't initially plan that I wanted to take mathematics, statistics, economics, and P science. I wanted to go to University of Ghana to study accounting because I thought I'll be better as an accountant, as I like structure and I like figures. So I thought accounting would be a better career for that. But University of Ghana, one thing is that when you apply for the undergrads, they have their own way of determining which courses to give you. I'm sure some of you would have those experiences. So I applied for accounting, but they gave me mathematics, economics, statistics. We call it EMS. I mean, very difficult combination depending on your background. But I combined this with a lot of internships, and I talk about the the masters as well. But the most important thing is the pivots. I pivoted a lot. When I wanted to become an accountant, started on that path. It didn't work. I thought, let me become a food researcher, because then I had an opportunity with the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research in Ghana. I dedicated my entire master's thesis to this career ambition to become a food researcher. But that didn't work out very well. So I started my PhD, but then I pivoted again. But then during the PhD time, I said, no, let me take data science more seriously. And then that started gaining grounds. And then I said, no, let me explore the world. Let me explore the world. So this led to a surgeon in international development. A number of opportunities started coming. And so this slide clearly showed, this slide will tell you why I put a PhD on hold, because at the time I saw that age also was on my side. There were a lot of opportunities in international development. Some of them come with age limits. So, for instance, you cannot join, say, World Bank Young Professionals Program if you are above 32 years old. You cannot join some Overseas Development Institute fellowship if you are over 32 years old. So I thought strategically, let me put a PhD on hold since age was on my side, to target some of these opportunities to put myself on an international stage. So there were a lot of international development programs that were hiring me and paying me well to manage their data. And data management is a very generic term, but that's involved a lot of data cleaning, because this program data, there are a lot of consortia, different consortia. So you have to then get data from the different organizations and make this data interpretable. That's a lot of work, a lot of coding, a lot of programming to clean the data, do imputations for where there are missing observations, etc., etc. I mean, this period of 2016, 2018 was a period I would call a very successful period, because I was very relentless. I have to say, I was very relentless in my pursuit of international opportunities. I founded Sigma Research Center with CARE International becoming one of my clients. I have a lot of contacts in CARE International. Love that organization dearly. Full research I talk about. Then there was a full-time position with PEG Africa that was distributing solar home systems to off-grid households in West Africa. They wanted a data engineer. I picked up that role. But all these roles more or less pinned me to Africa too much. I wanted to try other parts of the world. I started thinking about the Caribbean. I started thinking about America. I started thinking, how will I fare on Wall Street? How will I fare in Silicon Valley? I asked myself those questions. Let's just say I was I was too ambitious and deluded at the same time, but you need some bit of delusion if you really want to achieve big goals. So we'll get to that. And so I embark on a global tour. This global tour, I look at it more like how musicians, when they release an album, or when they prepare an album, how they tour the world in order to showcase the album and perform. That's how I envisioned this period of 2019 to 2021. I figured that, no, I have gotten myself involved in a lot of international data programs. I've developed some quite enough portfolio. Why don't I look for opportunities out there to go and showcase this portfolio? And so my strategy was to compete for international data science fellowships. And this is something that I think I should talk a bit more about, because most people, for where we come from, at times we feel like we are not good enough to compete on the international stage. But at least you can use me as a reference, that I just bet on myself. I told myself I'm going to dedicate this entire year to pursuing international strategies. So I applied for several international data science fellowship. I also wanted to be a guest lecturer in international universities. So I know that I have gotten this experience from CARE International, from corporate Ghana. I have all these professors around me from University of Ghana. I did some work with the Ghana's Council for Scientific and Industrial Research. So I hypothesized that international universities might be interested in how some African is able to work to derive this insight that organizations are using. I mean, I was very proud to see that CARE International, for instance, has used my data that I analyzed for them to administer some interventions in Ivory Coast. So I'm like, no, let me go and present these works to students in other parts of the world. I applied for a lot of guest lecturer positions. Another strategy I also picked was volunteering for NGOs outside Ghana. This is strategic. One thing I realized was that when you apply to be a volunteer for these top NGOs, maybe the first month they will not pay you because you said you wanted to be a volunteer. But if you show your skill set and if you target strategic areas that NGOs are operating, they often begin to present proposals to you, which will involve payments, and you have the opportunity to negotiate a paid arrangement with these NGOs. So I use that strategy as well. During those times, I also flirted with the World Bank, but they told me I was too young, and then my experience wasn't to the level. So I applied for some World Bank and UN jobs, but luckily I got a lot of feedback from them, and they told me to keep going until I built enough portfolio. So I kept on, kept on, and some notable results. Some of them that I'm proud of was that I had a mentorship role at Stony Brook University in USA within this time period. Then there was also Grow More Foundation, a very prominent organization looking to looking to publish research findings to improve best practices in agriculture in developing countries. They're also based in New York, a lot of work with them. Then there was Uptake Data Science Fellowship, which also selected me, a very competitive global fellowship. I think I was the only one representing Africa, was based in Chicago. This program lasted for about a year. And then there was the prestigious Overseas Development Institute Fellowship. That whole application took like a year. If you are selected for the ODI fellow, you are then posted to a developing country government for 2 years. So I was, moving between London and Tanzania for 2 years you are more like an international civil servant. And then, got the chance to develop some academic programs with the State University of Zanzibar, which I believe they are still using. And so it was at this point, it was going to the World Bank became more of a mutual arrangement rather than me having to either lie in my application or be strategic with my application. All these opportunities and the relentlessness, it became quite mutual to join the World Bank. So from July 2021, I joined the World Bank on a full-time basis. How I did that is quite interesting, I have to say, is that the Overseas Development Institute Fellowship that posted me to Tanzania, it's like I said, you are placed within government. And as we know, World Bank funds most of the development projects at developing country government. So what I did was I targeted those World Bank funded projects. And anytime World Bank was visiting the statistical service in Zanzibar, I will make sure I get the opportunity to present. And part of all that strategy was to ensure that the leadership of the World Bank was able to notice me. And what Charity will tell you is some of us, we are always trying to come up with some proposal or the other. So one thing I saw in Zanzibar was that the World Bank was constantly sending their technical experts to Tanzania to analyze the data for the people. So I'm like, no, why don't we decentralize the use of data by building capacity for the locals so they can use the data? It's not a revolutionary idea, but implementing it will require some tact and some strategy. So when I made that proposal, World Bank started taking notice. And so by the time my fellowship was starting to end, the World Bank opened a position, and then lured me in. I mean, it was a very mutually satisfactory arrangement. But, like I told you, I put my PhD on hold in 2015 in order to pursue all this international agenda. So after 2 years with the World Bank in a full-time role, I started dreaming of PhD again. I started dreaming. I'm like, I need to find a way to get back to my PhD. So I kind of converted my full-time role to a part-time role at the World Bank. And now that's allowed me to pick up a full scholarship at the University of Maryland, where I'm talking to you from now, because I mean, like I said, I wanted to get back to my PhD as quick as possible. So how I do it now is I work at the university full time, and then during the vacation, I don't work with the university. I go to World Bank and I work. When the school is in session, I come to work at the university. When there is vacation, I'm back to World Bank, and so I keep it like that, like that. Uh, then, I mean, the question then will be, what is the next step from here? Where do I take all this career to? Well, as you can see with this last bullet here, I am quite happy with where I am. I'm happy that I am pursuing my PhD. I'm happy that I am working here at the university. It's a graduate student instructorship. So I help teach data science programs, two classes per week, the same course delivered to two classes. For me, I'm very happy with that arrangement. And then I get to work with the World Bank when I'm free. Actually, when I'm free. So in the course of the semester, when I have time, I work and get paid, or during the vacation full time. So I'm happy with this arrangement. So recently, I've started thinking, and this is what led me to charity. I've started thinking, how can I pay it forward? How can I help others who might be interested in pursuing paths similar to this, even if not directly like that? So I started thinking, and this is why we are having this meeting, because I thought, let me come up with a mentorship program where I can basically pay it forward. So what I do now, apart from the bank, apart from the PhD pursuit, apart from the university, is trying to see if I can share my experience more. And so I've started putting together quite an impressive group of some colleagues from the World Bank, some colleagues from the United Nations. I have an internship program going on with the United Nations. I need to find a way to formalize that. And so I'm putting together all these colleagues to see if we can, people say, democratize some of these opportunities that some of us have enjoyed. If we can democratize it a bit, especially for my people in Africa. And so this is, for me, the next step. I have a data science office hour that is an extension of the office hour I hold or I manage at the University of Maryland, trying to open that up to the public. Mentorship pairing, for instance, like I said, if I discover that some of you are quite interested in a career path in international development and you have the basic requirements, I might say, okay, why don't I pair you with a colleague from the United Nations to see maybe they can guide you along that journey if I can't do that. Internship, job placement, career mapping, skills development. And then one thing I'm going to be very interested in is funding youth-led programs. One thing I know is there are a lot of money. One thing I have to tell you, during my experience with the bank, one thing that pains me so hard, and because of where we are from, we don't like to see money wasted. But most of these international intergovernmental organizations, how it works is that if you have your budget and you've not been able to finish spending the money, the funders take back the money. And I had money that was taken from me because I couldn't finish spending it. And so I'm sad. And that experience has led me to say that no, now let me open up opportunities to the youth, those who have very enticing entrepreneurial ideas that can improve lives for others. Let me connect them to funding opportunities. So that is about me. I was told to speak about advice I could have given to my younger self. I mean, if I were starting like in 2015, what I would have done would be to talk to people more, especially people who have already charted the path I'm interested in, right? I rely too much on my brain power. But I think I turned out all right. So I have to thank God. But there was luck along the way because there was no specific roadmap, as Charity mentioned. Um, I mean, I pivoted quite a lot from wanting to be an accountant, from wanting to be a food researcher, from wanting to be a public health specialist to what I am now, a statistician operating within the international development space. But at each point of the journey, I was afraid. I was afraid I was going to fail. I did not want to fail. Charity will tell you in class, we don't accept failure. So I took that same energy to my career. I was worried. So anytime I had to leave a particular role to pivot into a new area, I was constantly afraid, and I still am. But and then one thing I should have started thinking about others from the beginning. So don't be too self-serving once you are on this journey. And also, when at Crossroad, one thing I would have been doing, I did quite well, but when at Crossroad, I should choose the opportunities whose values will stand the test of time. During my exploration of international opportunities, I wanted quick results. I wanted quick results. It led me to the bank eventually, but the process was very painful at times. So think long term and then be flexible along the way. So that's the first part of the presentation. I was also told how I ended up in this domain regarding skills. Now, first of all, data science is a very generic terminology. It's a jack of all trades. There is nothing. It's not a specialization like, for instance, you have some climate change experts who knows the weather, who knows this. Data science is a very generic career. You are going to be a jack of all trades if you want to be called a data scientist. And so the ability to ask good questions of a data or ask generally good questions of a problem in society is very important. For instance, if it is marketing, you might want to understand how you can better segment your customer base so that different payment plans can be developed for them. You think about questions like this. A little bit of programming helps depending on the domain you are in. And so I put these skills here: database management, ability to develop database. So here, if you look at the diagrams, we have substantive experts. I mean, I call it domain knowledge. You want to, first of all, before you can be a good data scientist, you want to have some domain that is an area you can operate in. So for me, the domain I operate in is poverty research. And that's how come I'm with the World Bank. I'm constantly trying to see how we can better measure poverty. Are we classifying people who are poor properly? Because if we don't classify them very well, the government will be wasting a lot of money on cash transfer programs. So I'm very concerned about that. So that's my domain. Some people, their domain is marketing. Like I said, some, their domain is climate change. So you want to figure out what your domain is. And hacking and coding, that's more a term for database, probably managing database, developing relational databases, object-oriented programming, where you can separate your large data into different objects and be able to link them together based on the analysis you want to do. So the skills, if you can get these skills, first of all, I would say you start with Excel. So one of the things that helped me when I was starting into the data science space was I mastered Excel first. Now, what happens is that when they ask me to do something about data, because I know Excel very well, I will use Excel to do the thing first. And then I can then check from Google, Stack Overflow, and all the support pages on how to then convert this thing I've done in Excel into R. Or how can I convert them into Python? And how can I use SQL to link the databases much better? And for visualization, if you get Tableau sorted, if you can learn Tableau, work with the Tableau server, host Tableau, develop some dashboard and host it on Tableau. And then Power BI, during the time I was applying for the International Data Science Fellowships, my portfolios were all in Power BI. I thought having some dashboards will go places. So I developed dashboards, and that's what I use for most of my applications, and it's worked well. So you could do the same if you take a month or two. I put this here. if you go online, you'll find all kinds of roadmaps that are there. But this is the one that I have tailored myself. First of all, get your programming basics. If you can get some basic understanding of Python and SQL, because those two are very important for managing the job flow of a data project. Get that done. And if you can read on R, SPSS, and Stata so that you have some foundational knowledge. Because when you go to the interview, you don't want a particular package mentioned and you are stammering. You want to read widely on the packages so that at the interview, if you haven't used it before, you can tell the interviewer or you know about it and you are learning it. One thing I see people doing, which is if you are interested in a career in international development, you should stop working with those simulated data and rather go and get real data and start working with it. For instance, World Bank or UN will be so excited to hear that you are analyzing the Ghana's demographic and health survey data, right? Or you are using the Ghana demographic and health survey data to explore malnutrition profile of people in northern Ghana, right? That would sound so right for United Nations than if you say you have simulated some data from maybe ChatGPT and you are looking at marketing trends. So depending on the area you want to go, I would say you should start working with real household survey data. And this survey data, they are all online for statistical services. If you go to Ghana Statistical Service website, the data sets are there. Begin building dashboard. If you can be, because the tables are very complicated for people to read. So begin building dashboards, and there are a lot of materials online. Now, within the first 3 months, I would say you should start applying for opportunities. So if you want jobs, you should start applying for them. If you want internships, you should start applying for them. If you want fellowships, you should start applying for them. The reason is because from my experience, these application processes take a long time. So from the time you submit your application to when you'll be called for an interview to when you'll be called to do some tests, it's almost going to be like a month or two, three. It took me like 1 year for each application. So within 1 year, after you got your foundational knowledge, month one, month two, month three, you should apply for the jobs. Apply as though you are already qualified. Because as you can see from this roadmap, you are continuing to learn. You are continuing to work in competitions. You are getting to GitHub and developing repos to show what you want to do. You are collaborating on GitHub. You are taking up some Kaggle competitions. So you are applying for the jobs as though you are already there. And you are learning basic deployment tools, how to get Flask done, something I got in touch with some few years ago. You are continuing to apply for roles, right? You are continuing to apply for roles, or you are continuing to build the data science business you are thinking about. Like when I set up Sigma Research Center, which I put on hold quite frankly, at the time I didn't have all the tools and the knowledge I have here, but all I had was belief. So continue learning, case studies, use real data, use the data that the people you are targeting to work with are using, so that when you are talking with them, they understand what you are interested in. So I would, and again, GitHub is very important. LinkedIn has helped me quite a lot. So I remember back in 2014 when I joined LinkedIn, I wrote things there quite creatively. By creatively, I meant I wrote as though I was already qualified, right? And so it didn't take long before recruiters started contacting me. And because I was starting, I was very open to all kinds of opportunities to practice my trade. Now I'm able to say no because my table is full. So you want to as early as possible begin to put yourself in domains where you can be known. I think I was putting something on meetups. Oh yes. In the month 4, LinkedIn, start applying for roles and begin attending seminars, meetups, conferences, and ask questions. Right? Go to these places and ask questions. Asking questions has done me so much good. So ask questions in these conferences. So this is what I say. This is for people who already have quant background. If you have quant background, then go straight into the space, apply for roles, keep on learning. If you don't have quant background though, Then you want to do some few reading around the foundations in maths and stats. And specifically what you should be studying in statistics will be how to analyze the distribution of all variable types. So a continuous variable, how do you analyze its distribution, right? Shapiro-Wilks test, you want to understand how to use histogram properly. You want to get all the distributional properties of data properly understood. You want to also understand hypothesis testing, because hypothesis testing will help you to formulate questions properly of your data and make conclusions. You want to know when to use mean, median, mode. You want to get this basic understanding. And then once you are done, go back to this roadmap that I've presented here. So, Charity, I would like to end the presentation at this point and then hand over to you.
Wow. I just couldn't, I don't know if I'm dumbfounded because all the words in my brain have disappeared. And I think that in the history of brain dynamics, sometimes when you get dumbfounded, you just can't find the words to express. But but this has been very, I think that we can all agree that this has been very, very detailed. And just like Francis said, we are really blessed. The last time, I think yesterday or today, I posted your flyer. And this lady, Cynthia Owusu, I think she works at, what's the name of this? Cynthia Owusu. She said she worked
Oh,
with you at PEG Africa.
that's
Yes.
my colleagues at PEG Africa, the organization
Yes.
that
Yes. I
distributed
saw.
solar home systems. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was telling her that your reputation precedes you
Ah,
because you were the talented kid in the class.
no, Cynthia also, I
Yeah.
mean, she's a force to reckon with. I was the
Yeah.
data engineer, she was the
Okay.
analyst. We were,
Okay. Wow. Wow. She was
yeah.
telling me a bit about you. I said, wow, that's amazing. So yeah, this has been really amazing. And just like, okay, Prof just joined, and I hope I
Ah,
don't need this a class reunion.
Clement!
But for the sake of everybody.
I think we have to give Clement some
Hello,
space.
Prof.
Hello, the
Hi.
professors. How are you?
Very, very fine, Prof.
Clement!
Okay, so everybody, let me introduce you to one only Professor Clement Sefanya. I can't believe I was in class with this talented kid.
Look
Um,
at these people.
yeah, so Clement is also a lecturer at, is it King's College in London?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so
Yeah, I
Clement
mean,
is here in
I'm
the
in
network.
the
Yeah, go
midst
ahead.
of I'm in the midst of all these gurus,
Guru,
Charity Francis, and I
don't
I should be
do,
thankful that
don't do
I'm
that.
in your midst.
Clement, please, don't do this to us. We beg.
Don't do this to us because we know you.
That is the truth, the truth. How
Yeah,
far
so
am I very late? I think I wasn't sure about the time because of the time zone difference.
oh, okay, that's fine. Francis just finished the first part, presented the roadmap, his career journey, and it's really been impactful. So we just got to the second part where we could ask questions, and I'm just praying that we don't all catch inferiority complex because Prof just joined the call. But I think that very confident and bold ask questions because these two gurus are here in our midst and they have all the questions and answers for you. They will even end up asking you questions. That's what I mean. And so I think that we are getting to the the meat part of the our session, and that okay, I'm trying to accept some people in here. And so it's time to ask questions. And I really don't want to take up all the questions, right? Going through the registrations, Francis, most of our participants were very much into two areas. Like I shared with you. Some people are very much interested in, going into a data science trajectory, but having an
Hmm.
international focus.
Hmm.
Those are very important to them, right? Roxanne, I'll call you soon. And some were just, they want to draw an international career strategy. They don't know where to start from. ChatGPT is giving them some gibberish and it's getting really confusing. They don't know what to say. And I think that your presentation really gave them some clarity. And I think that at this time of the year, it will be very great to start working on, a career strategy, because 6 months from now, if you put something in place, your life will be totally different from where you are today, because you are just one decision away from creating that strategy for yourself. And so it is time for us to get in the question, and I'm going to start with Emmanuel. Emmanuel, please go ahead and ask your question. Yeah. Hello, Emmanuel. I think it's time now. You can ask. All right, so let's go to Hillary before Emmanuel goes. Hello, Hillary. Yeah.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hello.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Hillary. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Thank you, Mr. Francis, for the presentation. All I can say is I'm really motivated and inspired, because it looks like at every second in your life you are doing something. It's really amazing to have joined this meeting and to experience that. So I'm into coding. I actually started a data science, like I started learning somewhere in January, but I kind of lost interest. So I want to ask Mr. Francis if he encountered stuff like that in his career journey, and how do you overcome stuff like that?
Yeah.
So, Charity, should I take this one for now?
Yeah, can you go ahead and take it?
Yeah. Yeah. So Hillary, that's a very great question. I think everybody faces this challenge along the journey. One thing I have to say though is I also was not very motivated to just continue learning if there was no opportunity to directly apply what I was learning. It's I find it very difficult just to learn in a vacuum. When I was starting out, we didn't have this. I was not very used to this concept of portfolio, right? Where you develop your portfolio and project. These days on LinkedIn, I see most people are very active on GitHub, projecting their dashboard. So I think what you can do to keep the motivation up is get some private websites developed, get the portfolio up and running. And if you are writing about it, sharing it with your networks, there'll be you have a lot of people beginning to be interested in what you are doing. I think the reason you might be losing motivation is not just also about jobs to use the skill, is because you feel others are not benefiting from it. So don't develop the codes and keep them to yourself. Share the codes, and you have people asking, "Oh, how did you do this one? I mean, how did you do this?" The charity could say, "Oh, can you come and show to the Black Tech Lead community how you've developed that dashboard to segment customer bases?" So the few times that I had a pause in my programming journey, what I did was I began sharing the codes. I engaged some colleagues. We started repurposing my codes and then sharing them, anonymize them one way or the other, and share them. So that has led me to a lot of opportunities, a lot of speaking gigs. So Hillary, I think one element will be you either apply for the internships that I did, the target the organizations that can help you channel the code to something better, or begin to share them, and then you will get a lot of validation and inspiration to continue. That's what has helped me. Over.
That is actually very impressive. engaging with colleagues to stay motivated is very important, because I've had people in my network who started to learn how to code and they said no, this thing is not working. But I think that, just like you said, the most important thing is to have a goal. You need to say, okay, I am very passionate about health, and so I want to create a health database or a health something to solve this problem. And so once you have the goal and you have, like you said, a group of colleagues, you are able to stay motivated, you're able to peer mentor each other properly, and then you take yourself from there, and then of course share your journey. We have Emmanuel. Emmanuel, please go ahead with your question.
Okay. Good afternoon, Francis. Thank you very much for your presentation. Please, I'm currently doing my MSc in Artificial Intelligence and Data Science, and I would like to know how uh, I can one, first of all, how I can join the mentorship program, ways I can join your mentorship program, and also, and I also I'm passionate about solving problems, basically about business problems. So I would like to know if I'm to channel my interest in businesses in Africa, how would that be an advantage for me to, let's say, expand globally?
Yeah, sure. Emmanuel, thanks for your question. I want to find out which level are you? Are you in the first year of the master's? Is it 2 years? Are you about to finish? Because that.
Oh, I just started just a month ago in
Oh,
the
okay.
U.
So you are just starting this. Yeah, I mean, one thing I did. So there was something that helped me at the point, which is missing from the slide, is these fellowships. Like I said, the fellowships that I targeted, some of them are very Africa focused. So we have like Acumen Fellowship. They are very much interested in supporting young techpreneurs. I think I learned this word from Charity. So I think, Emmanuel, you want to. Why don't you look at Acumen Fellowship, for instance? Because what they do is, I mean, you apply. Of course, you go through very rigorous selection process, and that's what Charity and everyone is here for, to support. And if you get into that fellowship, you have a roadmap. One thing Charity mentioned, which is becoming quite clear, is if you have a roadmap for what you are doing, like you are doing your master. So what's the next step? You also want to be asking yourself that question. But as we saw from Hillary, when you are doing these things on your own, it's an uphill battle. So I would say, one, look into Acumen Fellowship. They will be very. I wish I knew about Acumen Fellowship when I was doing my masters with Clement and Rips, Clement and Charity. But anyway, there were other opportunities that came up after the masters to bridge the gap. So targets Acumen Fellowship. I think that's the one that would really be very supportive for your Africa focused agenda. And then joining mentorship programs, there are several around. I think after 1 hour or so, I'll be hosting the data science office hour. You are free to join there. I expect to see some experts. We are still on a journey, but there are people who are quite seasoned. I expect to see them. So opportunities to collaborate on even ongoing projects are there. And then since you are in your first year, I told you already, applying to international organizations, the application cycle usually takes 1 year. So Emmanuel, begin to look into, if you want to join the international space, you want to begin to put your profile up on UN jobs, right? You want to also begin to look at World Bank Junior Professionals Program. So World Bank has a young professionals program, which is more competitive. But then there's a junior professionals program, and there is so much work going on to push Africa agenda, because some of us are there now. So we are ensuring that our brothers and sisters. So Acumen Fellowship, World Bank Junior Professionals Program, and then just join the ongoing mentorship programs. There are a lot of people willing to collaborate. Charity, over to you.
I think that's really it. with the way, was it Emmanuel who just spoke right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Emmanuel. Francis, in your presentation and with the way Emmanuel is speaking, it kind of picks up from the fact that even though we are all, at the time we were, doing our masters, we still kind of, except talented kid and prof, we really didn't have, that clarity on what exactly we really wanted to do. And I think that's also reflecting in Emmanuel's question
Yeah.
about,
Yeah.
I want to solve business problems, but I really do not know which parts of business problems I should go ahead for. But I think that one thing that I'm going to pick from you to highlight Emmanuel's answers is, of course, please go and look for Francis, follow, join his desktop. Is it Dex?
We have a data
Dex,
science office hour. Yeah.
yeah, office hour. Yeah, please go ahead and join because you are actually in that same industry. I think that you would have to start going after clarity. Right now that you've started your master's program, please do everything and fight for clarity because, like Francis mentioned through his roadmap presentation, you literally have to have some kind of domain, something, right? So if you want to go to IMF, you want to work in IMF, what do you want to go and do at IMF? Right, they would want to know, and that's how you start building portfolio. So I think that you are actually at the very basic. As you are learning the technical part of the skill, you would have to find a way, fight for clarity. I think Prof has something to tell us. Dr. Clement, do you want to add up to this?
Yeah, I
Somebody
think this is a
who
very
wants,
important question because
yeah, it's a
this
very,
somebody at the beginning stage and wanting
yeah,
to.
and it's
So
okay to break
yeah,
into the
let's bring
global
Clement.
scene. There's no shame in that at all, to want to be a global citizen. Yeah.
I mean, I don't claim to be an expert in tech.
I know you. I know that's what you say.
So I'm really keen to listen and appreciate the growth. I mean, a very good question in terms of the actual the practice of getting things done. I mean, we all have ideas. We have at this very age we are idealistic, and sometimes we just know where we want to be, but how to get there is always a challenge. And so I think all the tips Francis has given feed in there. I would say, and I mean, of course, Francis, and all of you, in fact, after the master's program at the University of Ghana, everyone was struggling at the same pace, but there were
Yeah.
different levels of effort. Francis, remember we had to do several collaborative projects together with you know, bridging between local partners and international partners. Remember ODI, PDA.
And charity, that's why I got the idea that led me to the World Bank. Remember,
Exactly.
Oh,
Take
okay.
me. World Bank wouldn't take me unless I made a proposal to them. So
Wow.
those partnerships Clement is talking about. So anyway, Clement, over to you.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So the point there, exactly the point that sometimes it takes little effort to build the kind of momentum you need, and just to because Francis is the star speaker, I'm really keen to just pick on some of
Yeah.
his journey there. I didn't listen to. I mean, I wasn't here when he was presented, so I'm not sure how much detail he gave, but
It was
I
quite
know
detailed. Very,
he
very
was
detailed.
very already working, doing all kinds of gig, even
Yeah.
during his undergraduate studies. So that's also something. There are some things you do just for bits and pieces of money here and there, which is not much, but gives you some leverage, some exposure. And then when we finished the masters, and I had a project that required some expertise. At the time, I know Francis had it, but of course, it means he needed to do more on the job. He came on working on challenges that he didn't even understand, but he had to,
Yeah.
venture into. So that would give a platform. Like first of all, you build expertise, you build good networks, and it is those networks that you tap into as you go along.
Yeah.
And when Francis mentioned that ODR, the World Bank opportunities, and all that, each step of the way
Yeah.
he needed references. He needed to cite
Okay.
things he had done, even
Wow.
if they are minor. Sometimes little things, but you have to escalate them, like expand their relevance. And I know, for instance, when Francis was moving from academic tech into industrial technology. I mean, those softwares you were using, so you just need to be daring, be practical, see what networks you have, see what you can do to tap on, and see the spaces that interlink and that will still allow you, give you the leap you need. Because sometimes the little things we do only give us linear progression, right? But you need to think about moments where you have exponential progression, like a springboard that will catapult you from your current momentum to another level. And until you jump to that other level, you are going to be doing well, but you need more. You need more energy. The network is good. Daring, being being adventurous also is often very useful. So look, I'm not sure how much of what I'm saying is useful, but certainly these two people who have been speaking since I joined are people I know, and I know the kind of expertise they have acquired and built over the years, and the effort that I've gone into all that. So I'll just encourage you to learn from them as much as you can.
That's really very impressive. Very, very impressive. Yeah. And you've actually opened the part of, needing, or relying on networks too as well. Because sometimes, like Francis mentioned earlier, he said that if he could go back and redo a lot of the things that he did, he wouldn't only rely on his brain power. Because sometimes we feel we are
Absolutely,
too
absolutely.
and yeah, it's a big mistake we kind of make when we are upwards. We don't connect with people, we don't find out what we can do to help other projects. So for instance, prof, you're a lecturer and you do have some projects here and there. Somebody can reach out to say, so I could do it for free, but at the same time the person is also gaining the global experience from doing those type of projects. So I think that's a very great point.
Yeah,
Joy
and
has
I think just keep in mind that there are always so many opportunities that come our way.
okay.
And sometimes you're looking for, like you said, charity, exactly. You're looking for people to help do things, but you don't know the right people, the right expertise, and even who has availability to help. And some of them start with just volunteering. When I lived in Australia, one thing that was really keen in venturing into those bigger spaces was just volunteering work. You could spend like half a year just doing work for free, but that's precisely, you just get to the precise moment where the thing that will take you to another level comes in, because you are there, people know you, they know your work ethics, they know your skills, and they give you those opportunities. So just build your skills, build your expertise, because even if you have all the networks in the world and the people in your network don't trust that you can do anything,
Mhm.
no one will fall on you. So
Yeah, I know that
there's that
very well. Yeah.
nice balance between building expertise, making it known, making people know you have the skills, and also nurturing that network so that there's that sweet balance between skills and networking
Definitely.
opportunities there, which is all very, very useful. Yeah. Thanks. I've probably spoken too much. Yeah.
Yes. I know, Prof. You can't speak too much. You can't speak too much. And I think when you were speaking, I remembered that I had to fall on you when I was, also applying for some schools too
Totally.
as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
Of course, we've always
I
stayed in
just
touch, and
remembered, and you were so
yes,
happy to
yes,
write. Yeah. Yeah.
yes.
Also,
Okay.
also for me. So when I was so Clement, I'm sure he's probably just like, how did this guy ended up at
Yeah.
the University of
Yeah.
Maryland without talking to
Yeah.
him? That's
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
he's already helped me. I mean, 2 years prior
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
a different PhD application, so
Wow.
I was just able to use the
Yeah.
skills he's already imparted. So yeah, yeah. I mean, Clement kind of like the
He's a
bridge
very
between some
solid
of the
guy.
things.
We
Well,
all go to
I,
heaven.
you are making me look like the star speaker here, but you are
We
the
know,
person,
we know how
Francis.
Oh
you
no no
behave.
no
You
no!
are
We know
Hey,
the
how you
guru.
behave.
Clement.
We know how you behave. You always be like, oh, I don't know much. But
By the way,
yeah,
thanks. I'm
yeah.
happy to hear all
Okay.
this. Yeah.
All right. So Joy has a question for us. So Joy, can you go ahead? The joy of tech.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you so
Hello.
much, Mr. Clement and Mr. Francis as well. I think Mr. Clement has touched on a few of the questions I have, but basically just to go over it. So I'm still an undergraduate student, right? And at the end of the day, once we are done with school, we want these international opportunities as well. And we just also don't want to um, operate in our own vicinities at the moment. Most times, I would want to explore and see what the future of technology, of data as well looks like out there so I can bring it back to Africa as well. And since I'm a student, most opportunities I would apply for, I might fit into the criteria, but at the end of the day, I'm still a student, so I can't get them because they require first degree. And so I was also going to ask about volunteering opportunities, just like Mr. Clement said, because since I'm still a student, there might be a space for volunteering or research, at least since I'm still a student. And then I just wanted to know tips you can give, especially for the volunteering, and then how to pair it with school as well. Because at the end of the day, we know that getting a certification alone won't take you to where you want to be, right? I'm also fortunate to be in spaces under people like Madam Charity as well and learn from them. And I think that has really helped me so much. So I wanted to know if you have any tips for undergraduate students who can get full-time roles at the moment, but then they also want to be included and give in their skills and learn as much as they want as they can, so that when they are done with school, they can also, be part of that particular system. And then lastly, adding to it, I just want to know if you've had any experience or basically any knowledge or anything to say about women also having a place in spaces like this as well. If there's a place for us, if we build our skill, and if we meet the criteria as well at the end of the day. Thank you so much.
Francis, did you get that?
Oh yes, I got.
Getting opportunities that don't, require first degree, but you're still a student. How do you navigate that whole process? And
Yeah,
then
first.
women, yeah, that's
Well,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, sure, absolutely. So first, it's good that you are not qualified for a full-time job when you are at the undergrad. I've known some few people who got full-time job at undergrad level and they put education on hold. They never got back. So it's a good thing. But like one thing which is clear from my journey, and Clement also confirmed that, was that even during the undergrad level, we were relentless, right? Part of those was financially motivated, I have to say. I mean, we needed to do some of those volunteering opportunities to get money. But Joy, what you should do, you could look into. You're already in the space that you said, so apply for volunteering opportunities. One thing that I did, which was my strategy, and it's still something I'm doing, because it's not like I have a very long history of experience yet. I'm still building, but I apply for the opportunities as though I am already qualified. Now, the reason that is because I know I'm still learning, right? So, Clement talked about some opportunity that he connected me to. We all knew at that time, we just finished our masters. We have not really done anything. We haven't built any portfolio, but it was dedication to learn from the job. So, why don't you target? And then one thing I also do is this, right? So I have this strategy that works very well for me. As you know, I wanted to explore the world. That means that I also don't want to be pinned by a particular job. It was one of my strategies not to be pinned by some job. Now I'm happy to be pinned because I've seen enough of the world, and now I'm here with my PhD program. So one thing I usually did was I will first apply as a volunteer, and then, like I stated, target very strategic areas the organization is operating in, and then see if you can be paid for contributing to those areas. So initially, hey, can I volunteer at your organization? I don't want any money. It's just for free. In fact, actually, yesterday, despite me with the World Bank now and also tied up with the University of Maryland, I actually sent a request yesterday to volunteer for somebody who is doing something I'm envisioning that I could do. I said, no, I don't want any money. I added my CV and and some links to some projects I did already. So you see, I'm still even doing the same thing at this level because, like Clement said, you have to be looking at the horizon. So that's what I would do at your level. A lot of, and you should apply. It's a game of numbers. Some of these opportunities, especially if there is no one telling you like, come and work for me in this organization, then it becomes a game of numbers. And most people are open to taking people on if they know that they don't have to pay you at the onset. They will begin to want to pay you once they see your output. So get your foot in the door. One thing I didn't do.
Okay.
Oh yeah, before Clement comes in. So when I finished my first degree in Ghana, I thought there were not a lot of opportunities to pursue the international agenda at the time. And this is probably why I stayed in Ghana and got my master's in Ghana. That was fantastic because it led me to people like Clement and Co, who I said were the bridge. But now at the University of Maryland, there are two Ghanaians in the master's program where I'm studying my PhD. They just finished the undergrad and now they are here doing their masters. At the time I finished my undergrad, I thought that was like a far cry, something that I could not. Of course, I tried, but then I didn't put in a lot of effort at the time. So please, the idea, pursue if you want to volunteer. If you have some 3 hours a week that you can make available, use it to get some organizations on your profile. You may read a report for them that they've already written. You may check and correct some spelling mistakes. That adds to your profile. And I think and then begin, if you're interested in the international space, begin to reach out to colleagues who are already on the journey that you are interested in. I wish I had people, again, like I said, one of the things at the time was too much reliance on our own brain, which is also something the Bible does not support, right? You don't want to rely too much on your own understanding. So that's what I would say. Clement wanted to come in. Over.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, and once again, pardon me if I'm just a guest and I'm probably taking over the space, but I'm sorry if you feel that way. I totally agree with you, Francis, that especially after first degree. I mean, don't be too ambitious before you finish your first degree in terms of like stepping out of Ghana, for instance. If you have a very good first degree certificate and transcript, you can fly. All right. Before I started my master's with Francis and Charity at the University of Ghana, I had already done one master's in the UK.
Yep.
And I used my University of Ghana first degree in sociology to do that master's. And I only did another one in Ghana because I just wanted more. I wanted to do more quantitative stuff. Anyway, so yes, I'm just agreeing with you on that, Francis, that there are several opportunities that you don't need money to do. You just need your skill and your networks. Yeah. Now, in terms of volunteering, there's also the risk of becoming a professional volunteer. The strategy Francis has mentioned is brilliant in terms of working, gaining some income, actually building a profile, but also still using volunteering as a strategy to venture into new spaces. If you are only hoping to volunteer to be an office assistant somewhere, to be photocopying things for people, that's good, but that's not good enough for the kind of people in this room, right? You have skills. I know people who I have recruited. Francis, some of them, like Raymond and Co. I brought them into our organization as volunteers, as interns, and they wow everyone because even before you start thinking of a problem, they have gone to YouTube to do some investigation and they have a solution for you, or they've gone to some software somewhere and they're always proposing ideas. And so the organization would have, like Francis said, would have no other option than to keep you. All right. And many of these people are still in the organization, excelling, becoming managers, doing big things there. So the point is that the volunteering that you are asking for, Hillary, or was it? Yeah, Hillary.
That's joy.
Joy, yes, joy. The joy of tech is just a good question. The right time.
Mhm.
Venture there, but don't go and sleep on your own. Don't become a professional volunteer there, hoping that some opportunity will come your way. You need to
You
use your
need
skill, let
to
people see
yeah.
you, and they
You need
want
to
to
be
keep
very
you.
entrepreneurial, even at the pick up
Totally
roles and tasks that can highlight you. I think Clement Francis spoke
totally
about that too. I think he said
amazing.
he forced
Exactly
to
the
do
point.
presentations even when he was not asked to present things, so he could be recognized by the leadership. Yeah, I think
Yeah, but
that.
it doesn't mean that they will accept you willingly like that. Because of course you are going there, because some
Yeah.
people see that also as a backdoor entry. You want to come in as volunteer and take our jobs. People will put it that way. You meet people who have been there for years and are still where they are, and you coming in to to take up those big positions, those positions may generate conflict, but that's the game. Just find strategies of dealing with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's very mature. Thank you. Thank you so much, Bob. So we do have, I
Yeah,
think, Francis, did you talk about the women thing?
yeah. I was going. Yeah, my strategy was to let you answer that. I mean,
Okay,
first of all, but then
no
from
problem.
from from my little experience so far, so I
Mm-hmm.
mentioned that there are two
Mm-hmm.
Ghanaians
Mm-hmm.
in the master's program where I'm studying, and
Mm-hmm.
one is a lady, and
Oh,
I'm like, I mean, of course, I was wowed now for several reasons because of the things she told me, the how she had to convince. Uh, I mean, so my point is the challenge for women entering into the tech space is not for the lack of opportunities alone. It's also the women accepting the challenge, and that's why I want to hand over to Charity to talk about the women part.
no
But there is
problem.
one thing I want to say about volunteering before Charity comes in. So, because this volunteering is something that is not guaranteed with pay, right? What
Mm-hmm.
usually I do is I go with a proposal. So, for instance, is oh, I see that you are working on this project. I see that you are going to collect this data in northern Ghana to measure, say, malnutrition, for instance. Can I analyze this data? Right? I mean, can I join the team? I have these SPSS skills. I want to do this. I want to do this. Now I know that they will not analyze this data without paying the analyst. Right? So I mean,
Oh,
why would you hand over a whole institutional data to somebody to analyze without paying them? So you
yeah,
propose the volunteering, but already you are targeting. So it requires some tact
yeah,
and skill. And Clement talked about that already. Charity, I
yeah.
think we should talk about the women in tech
Yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
yeah. I honestly think that the rules of international career stuff does not really differ whether you are male or a female, but of course the problem comes when the fundamental things of being a woman comes to play. So, for instance, I'm navigating this webinar with my babies in the background. If recently I was put on a high level, discussion with the UN Secretary Deputy, came to Africa with some roundtable discussions, and I had my child with me. She started screaming. I was immediately removed from the call. It wasn't my fault. I'm a woman with a child, and stuff. And I always say that I started, understanding. I came to do my master's pregnant, and we all know this. Everybody calls me that even now. And so I had to navigate studying all that demographic models, numbers, and all that, even still, pregnant and stuff. So I think that being a woman kind of gives you have some added responsibilities in the background, but of course the rules of play, being determined, focused, relentless, and all these other things come, they are gives you that level playing field, right? So I don't think there's whenever I'm in rooms, I don't always want to, oh, I'm a woman, I cannot know. I don't think that. I've always known that there are people who wouldn't like you if you are tall, you are short, you are black, you are woman. Like there are things like that, and we can't close our eyes to those things. But You just have to keep going. I think for me, that's the mindset that I have. And I know that most of our community people know this stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so let's go to, we have a question for you, Francis. Nanama says that I am not into data science, but currently pursuing my MSc in global health. Given my background in global health and interest in health system strengthening and international development, what are the most relevant roles or departments to focus on within international organizations? That's the first question. That's a lot. Very specific. And what essential skills um I'm really sorry about this. Okay, so Francis, you can go ahead and answer the first one, and then we'll just go with the rest. Yeah.
Yeah, no, Nanama's question is very specific. So when I was working for the Overseas Development Institute, the fellowship they had at the time I was applying was only targeting postgraduate statisticians and economists, right?
Okay.
So, but then during the COVID-19 time, because of the health crisis that we experienced during the COVID-19 time, they've added a health dimension. So all of us, then I saw some of the. So I told you guys, I started a PhD back in Ghana at the School of Public Health
Yeah.
before. So I had a lot of colleagues from that program who were asking how they could get into ODI fellowship. So the point is the ODI fellowship that I mentioned, because I know the fellowship very well, and Clement also knows what I'm talking about. They've added a health module where you can be taken on. It's slightly competitive. It's more competitive than just getting a consultancy role that Clement
Okay.
linked me to. But if you get that, you are then posted to a developing country government to work on health initiatives for 2 years. So that's the first thing that's the first one I will probably want you to consider, provided you are within the age threshold. ODI fellowship has no age limit, but I'm sure if you go, say, beyond age 35 and co, they want to target, I mean, because they see it like a stepping stone into international
Yeah.
development.
Let's see.
So I always like to tell those who are reading their masters in public health now to consider the ODI fellowship. And initially, they usually did not take Africans, but some of us have broken that deadlock, if I should say. So that's one thing I know for sure. But then I also know that Insight Fellowship, the Insight Data Science Fellowship, is also accepting applications from. I think I left. Let me quickly check. There are some. So Charity, what I can do is to send you some fellowships that she can explore. But let me see. So there are, apart from the ODI fellowship, there is Bloomberg Fellowship. There is UN
Oh,
Global.
Bloomberg
Yeah.
for
No,
health.
no, no,
Okay.
no, sorry, Charity, not Bloomberg. So ODI Fellowship, UN Global Force, those two,
Okay.
I
Okay.
know for sure they are accepting people with
Okay.
public health background, right? That is that. But then this fellowship, the reason I like them is because they are very structured, right? They provide a structured. It's kind of like a ladder. The ladder, if I were working for, say, Peg Africa, where Charity and Cynthia and I were working, and then I
Yeah.
wanted to
Yes.
take a step to the World Bank, I'm sure it would have been an uphill battle, right? But the way
Yeah.
these fellowships are structured is that funding for fellows come directly from World Bank, from United
Oh.
Nations, and that's why those who wants to break into the space that I am in, I usually want them to put their legs on the fellowship ladder. So
Fellowship.
UN Global Pulse, and then Overseas Development Institute Fellowship, because I have connection to these two fellowships. Maybe if we're able to talk more about them in the future. So
Yeah.
that,
They should join your office hour, I guess. Yeah.
yeah, I
They,
think so, because if those questions come up, we'll
yeah.
talk about them more. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I think we have two more questions. What essential skills or certifications would enhance my chances of getting hired by international organizations? I guess she wasn't around when you were doing that presentation.
Oh
Um,
no, 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 no. I mean, we
presentation.
can. Yeah, we
And
can.
yeah, and lastly, she's saying that she's quite unsure about specializing because how can I build a career path that remains flexible for different roles in international development? That's quite.
Uh, yeah.
Um,
No, no, no. I mean, yeah. I still don't think I have specialization. So when we finish demography masters, I mean,
yeah,
one reason I love demography is how broad it is, right?
too broad.
So if the opportunity that I'm targeting is in public health, I can sort of tap into some public health dimension of my. One thing Clement mentioned is you also have to be a good storyteller, right? You want to the little that you did, you want to be able to flesh out its relevance, its significance. So, the fundamental skills of understanding statistics, right? Understanding data, how to clean data, how to merge data, and then having this Python and R on your profile, right?
Wow.
First of all, using Excel very well because it will shock you. I mean, it's so used. I mean, when we were in Peg Africa, Excel was the tool that Cynthia was using
Yeah.
quite a lot.
Cynthia, yeah.
But then I guess after those foundational skills, the question is how should you specialize? That was always an area I had a concern with. I remember during my PhD application, I was asking Clement, Clement, my topic is too specialized. Is this not going to limit me? And then I think his answer, and then also something I've discovered recently, is you can flesh out the specialization. So you may be your role may just be a food researcher, right?
Okay.
You are somebody who can answer questions around food insecurity because you're able to collect data and classify people into whether they are food poor or not. But that can be fleshed into so many other domains. So I think for me, I used to fear specialization and I still do. And that is why for my PhD, I decided to go into a jack of all trade domain like data science, so
Yeah.
that I can. But then I've started specializing now in poverty research, right? Because for your PhD, you need to be you need something specific, and that's why how to collect data to measure poverty to classify people into. And so my answer regarding specialization is it has to be something you would enjoy because that eventually you will become known for that specialization. I don't think anybody will be necessarily known for knowing Python, Excel, and code. I think those are enough to get you. They are like a means to some end, and
Yeah.
so that's what I would say. I think Charity is good to let Clement also talk
Yeah.
about.
To answer, yeah. It's a
Uh,
very good
Uh, yeah,
comment.
which question did you want me to speak about, please?
yeah. Okay, go
Yeah, he
ahead.
said, I'm unsure about specializing further. How can I build a career path that remains flexible for
Yeah.
different roles in international development? So
Yeah,
I
and then
think,
Okay.
yeah,
I was saying choosing a data science path is kind
Mm,
of like jack of all trades that helped me to remain
yeah,
flexible. But then Clement,
yeah,
how did you because you eventually started narrowing your domain, right? So over to you.
yeah,
yeah, yeah. The problem with narrowing is I eventually end up also over exploring because you narrow, but you never end up narrowing. Um, yeah. Look, I think the higher you go up the education ladder, the more narrow your focus should be, naturally. So you could start off in undergraduate as sociologists, computer scientists, whatever. By the time you are, so let's say sociology. I can't speak much about tech language, so let me sociologist, yeah, undergraduate. By the time you are doing your masters, you are focusing on a very particular type of sociology, which could be, you know, um, you know,
health or
maybe
something.
health of fa- social relationships in families, something. So by the time you are doing your PhD, you're focusing on a particular type of relationship. Is it land relationships around land, properties, and then you keep narrowing down. But eventually, because you are building a specialization, that specialization also comes with other skills, other soft skills, okay, which are often undervalued, but very, very important. Michelle, what's your problem? You can't reach the auditor. Let me finish my meeting, okay? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So, Charity, yeah. Huh? Let me finish the meeting. Can you reach that one? The waffles. Okay, go and pick some. So, Charity, you're not the only one who is hustling, huh?
Yeah.
We are all hustlers, even though we are not. Yeah.
But
Um. So, I think you just have to begin to specialize, because eventually, um, if you're writing for any proposal, people want to see specifically what you're going to, the tangibles of your research. Yeah, there should be very clear structure around your thinking. And you can't do that if you are not very specific enough. But don't fear that, because the more you specialize, like I said, the more we build other skills around the specialization. So I started off as a peace and security scholar. I call myself that way. Um, yeah, Michelle, let me finish the meeting, okay? Yeah, thank you. I started off as a peace and security scholar, and then I eventually did something on demography as well, which wasn't helpful in any case because I wasn't specialized. I was just expanding my portfolio. When I chose to do a PhD, I was thinking about peace and security and demographics, but I had to narrow it down to something very specific on peace and security around resource governance, natural resource governance. And even that is too broad. I had to still go further down to look at minerals and petroleum governance.
okay, wow.
All right. And then, but the good thing is that, like Francis said, even if you pitch the idea around a theme, of, let's say, petroleum governance, you are not only going to study petroleum, you are going to study how petroleum influences peace and security, how it influences the economy, how history influences petroleum, how the type of resource, whether petroleum or minerals, how its transportability or marketability influences the way it's governed, and how rebels can influence it or governments can take over. And so so don't worry too much about specializing. In fact, the more specific you can be, the better. Because if you are specific, you know the narrow path you want to go, but you're also very sure that you are giving space for branches to join your narrow path, but also branches to exit your narrow path. And that's all I can say. Yeah, at the moment, sometimes it doesn't even matter the type of study. So I did my PhD in history, for instance, a PhD in history. But everything I did had nothing to do with history. I was studying um, the political history of resource governance. And that has come into now. I'm a lecturer in security development and leadership in one of the best universities in the world, King's College London. And I would, if I was thinking about getting a job at King's, there's no way I was going to do a PhD in history. All right, but I was interested in specializing in a very particular area. My field of research was the focus, resource governance. And it didn't matter whether I was in the history department of international development department or politics department. It is the research, the topic that's of interest, and I developed it very well so that even political science departments are interested in hiring me. You
Wow.
understand? So it's a skill, just focus on what you want to do it well. Make sure you are not just building a wall around yourself. You're doing it well and allowing branches in and out, yeah? And then it means that you can exit through any of those branches you develop around your research. But the specialization is very key the higher you go up the education ladder.
Wow.
Hopefully it makes sense. I will
Yeah, it
shut
makes
up.
a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. So I think that both perspectives actually answer her question. I think she was scared of specialization, and Francis did justice to that topic. That you pick a particular field in there that can help you to do things, in different ways, pick up roles, and then you also narrowed it down that being having a specialization is very critical if you want to go up in international development space and all that. But make sure that when you are picking that specialization, you can also pick up skills around it that make you vary. But specialization is very, very critical as you go up the ladder, because people
Exactly,
want to
because
know, like,
there are
who are
so
you,
many.
what are you known for.
Yeah, exactly.
You
There are
need
so
to know
many
that.
jack of all trades, master of none in the world. And in fact, by the time you finish your first degree, you are that
Yeah,
kind of person. You know almost everything, but
yeah,
you don't have a specialization. That's why
yeah.
masters helps you to narrow down a bit to
Slow
something very
down.
specific. So by the time you are narrowing it down, it doesn't mean you are losing the expertise you had before you began to narrow down. All right.
Mm,
And even PhD level allows you to narrow it down further. But that it's more like a pyramid where you sit on top
yeah.
of that pyramid, but you have a whole lot behind you that you are sitting
Mm,
on that you can tap into even with your specialization. So please specialize. You can't
Mhm.
be jack of all trade, master of none, and survive in the world because the world is fluid so much that you really need to know something well, but use
mhm.
it in a very diverse way. Hmm.
Yeah, that's really, yeah. Okay. So, Francis, there's also the question about certification, chances of getting hired. What certifications can you go after? Is it even necessary to go after certifications when you go through, like, the normal education ladder?
Yeah. First of all, good question on certification. I see a lot of people getting certified. So
Yeah.
they do this. At times, it can lead to even some FOMO, fear of missing out, because there is so much specific certifications here and there. But Charity, I say my certifications are like my work experience, my portfolio,
Wow.
right?
Wow.
So of course, if you are starting out and nobody knows you yet, getting those certifications is good enough. It's good to get you in the door. But they from my experience, they've not really kept me there. I did some few things on Coursera, etc., etc., but there is even no space for those on my CV. So if you have a good first degree and then a very good master's, hopefully in an area that you are interested in. We just talked about specialization a while ago. I mean, if you have those, you can do a lot with that. But if you are interested in certifications, when I joined Peg Africa, now so Charity, so Peg Africa was a very technical organization, right? They needed uh, programming, you need statistical programming, coding, etc. And we didn't learn a lot of coding from
Coding. Yeah.
University of Ghana, even our master's program. I mean, we didn't code that much. So I needed to show to them that I can do programming. So
Yeah.
I went to Udemy. So
Oh,
I went to Udemy to go through the process of getting certified as a Python programmer. So
yeah.
so I presented those skills, right? So Python, R, Excel, Power BI, and Tableau. Now the thing is, you must actually know how to use them, not just certification.
Justification.
So I see a lot of people say certified, certified, but don't worry about get certified for them. They are just like $5, $10. But the learning doesn't stop there. Like I'm saying, when you are applying for the roles, projects as though you can do them because you are actually going to be learning. So I got certified in the foundational knowledge, in the foundational tools. So I did Udemy for Excel. I got some Excel there. I got Power BI. I got Tableau. So I got all that, but they don't make space. I don't put them on my CV because you rather show the work you have done. So for those who are starting out, Charity, I know most of the participants are either doing their masters or
Yeah.
undergrad. It's because in Africa, most of the curricula does not include programming as it should. Get get some $5 each and go get some Python certification, get R certification, get one for Excel, uh, and then use them to do the portfolio projects that we mentioned. At least with those added to your masters and your undergrad, you'll be good to go. That's how I did it to get my first technical job at Peg Africa. But after that, nobody asked me about certifications anymore.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah,
I didn't use certification to get any,
yeah,
my
yeah.
portfolios. Oh, how were you able to do this? Come do this for us, kind
Yes,
of thing.
exactly. Yeah, and then
So
also once you are in, I'm very happy, Charity, that you are able to put this group together. Once you are in these groups, like Clement said, when Clement was connecting me to one gig from
yeah.
London, um, I didn't have any certifications, but, but those certifications, they may get you to the interview, right?
Yeah.
They may get you to the door, but like I said, you must have like burning desire to actually know how to use these tools uh, beyond the certification. I think from what I see now, because there are more people flooding the data science space, I would say get certified in those foundational. I mentioned Python, R, uh,
Yeah.
Excel, then Power BI. Just get them. I mean, I think all of them should be $20 or so. Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, 1 week or so, get them. Still, you have them there. Because when I was going to Peg Africa, they asked for certification. That's the first job,
Wow.
the only job in my life. They said,
That they ask for.
show a certification. Yeah, uh, which I
And
didn't have. I didn't have
yes,
them.
and in addition to that, all that, well, brilliant. I think your answers, Charity and Francis, are spot on. Um, First of all, just keep in mind that certification itself may get you to the door,
Hmm.
but it won't keep you.
Yeah,
It may
Yeah.
not even get you to the door in the first place,
yeah,
because many of the opportunities in this world today
Yeah.
are through networks.
Networking,
Someone who may
portfolios.
have seen your work
Yeah.
and wants you to be part of their team. And the small friendships you form in schools, in the university, very, very, very useful. Take
Yeah.
three. I have a meeting. Please go this way. Okay, take four. So those small group works, teamwork, please remove it aside. Anyone who wants some can take some. No, don't take more than four. For you. I'm very sorry, Ella. I need to sort out
Oh,
this family business.
don't worry. Yeah.
I need to
So
sort out
yeah,
this
before
family
Prof
business.
comes
It too,
in,
man. Yeah. So the
okay,
point
you
I
go
was
ahead.
making is that some of the networks you form, please move from here. The networks you form in school are very useful because these are the very people
Yeah.
who are going to be in your cohort and be taking decisions, and some may be in spaces.
Very
Of
true.
course, you may be in spaces where um, you could be hold someone's hand,
Yep.
but be thinking ahead and be say if you have 100 people in your class
Mm,
and you have 1% chance of helping someone, it means
yeah.
there's 99% chance that other people may be in spaces where they will need you to help them. So
Yeah.
contribute very well. But I think the point Francis was making is that it's not the certification that will take you there per se,
Mm,
but the skill you have. So some like Francis, I know when we were in restaurant science, we had all the skills. We were daring. We wanted to know more about SSPS. We wanted to know more
yeah.
about Stata. I never used SSPS when I got
SPSS.
one guy involved in my work, Francis' friend Raymond. He came to take over literally the work I was doing because he was like he came there as a volunteer and
Yeah.
he ended up doing all the work I was doing, and then I didn't find a need for it anymore because he brought the skills. So the point I'm making is that these things are useful to know. You just need to know them.
Yeah.
If you can have a certification as the icing on the cake, then it's fine. all right? Because then you can demonstrate it with a certificate if you are asked. But it is the doing, exactly the point, Francis. It's the doing that really matters. If you know how to do it and you don't have a certification, it's better because someone will spot you doing it and will be interested, rather than having a certificate and not knowing how to do it with mastery.
What's it called to do?
Yeah, so I think I just wanted to contribute to that very important point. Thanks.
Yeah. I think what's very important, like Prof and then Francis spoke about, is that when you are starting, most of us are in school and stuff. So maybe like Francis said, but what really will get you into international opportunities is not necessary. You have to know your onions. You have to demonstrate that you can actually do what it is you said you are able to do. So I think that we have to put our face down into learning. We are at 2:45 in Ghana, PM in Ghana. We have just about 10 minutes because some of us were here right from the beginning. Francis has to join office hour too. And so maybe I could just pick one question. Francis, I'm going to send you some of the questions afterwards. And I will encourage everybody to follow Clement Sefanyako and Francis Lavoe right now. You can search them on LinkedIn and follow them. And please try, if you can, if you are very much interested in data science, please join Francis' office hour. The spaces can get so filled up, you will be so invincible. So please, when you get there, tell them that you were coming from Black Tech Lead so that you can be recognized. Okay. And so please do that. Join his office hour and learn more. Create, for me personally, my aim for this community chat is that by the end of this particular event, everybody here in the room can draw a career strategy, just like the way Francis took us through. Next year, by this time, we want to hear testimonies, just like we do in the church. We want to hear testimonials so that you come, oh, hello, I was here and this is where I am now. So everybody must take it very, very seriously to draw. You won't get this anywhere. This is actually supposed to be a paid, a paid event, so that most of us will take it much more seriously. I have learned a lot, and so I'm also going to update my career strategy. And so when you see me somewhere, maybe I'm taking a selfie with Francis in Washington, please, we all got the same information. And so, yeah, it's very, very important. So, Francis, I think one more thing that will take. There are some questions about what is the difference between Master of Technology, MBA, MPhil. I think I will send them over to you, and then I will send it as email, follow up. And then there's one about what were the best and most challenging parts of your fellowship experience. Maybe you may want to take that last question, and then, yeah, we can close out.
No, I mean
Yeah.
the best part is the being an expert. You get very preferential treatment. I have to say.
Yeah.
I mean, like a World Bank experts, a UK experts in these African countries. You have
Yeah.
everything. You live in some of the best places. I mean, when I was in Ghana, I was living in yeah, we have some place in East Legon, but I was living in Medina. I mean, which is very crowded, right? But
Yeah.
then if I were an expert in Ghana, I would have probably been living
Bye now.
around the Flagstaff house, right? So
Yeah.
the best part of my experience when I'm in these foreign countries,
Yeah.
they put me in the most luxurious locations, and so that's good. I mean, but then the most challenging one is adapting to the local culture.
Okay.
This is very important, and at times getting to learn the local languages. Now I can speak Swahili quite
Oh,
fluently,
wow. That's amazing.
but then without it from the beginning, I really struggled. So apart from all the technical skills we talk about, being able to learn a local language, building relationships with locals, because if you cannot build relationships, the locals won't trust that you are there
For them.
for them. Yes, they'll see you like a foreign spy. So for me, local relationship building was very challenging part of for me. But the experience we had with PTA and Clemens, all those things, those experiences, they follow you. So that's what I would say.
Yeah.
Building local relationships. If you can build them on these international journeys, because the locals then accept you as your whole goal is to live in these foreign countries like the way you are living in Ghana, the way you are living in Nigeria. You don't want to get to these foreign countries and then you are limited in your way. So how do you do that? You have to build relationships that can sustain you. So that's what helped me. And over to you.
Yeah, I think that's very important. Being adaptable. Imagine somebody saying, I only eat banku and I don't like what the foreigners are doing, or the locals where I am, I can't fraternize with them. Nobody will accept you. So I think that's a great thing to put in our pocket, you know. Prof, do you have any last words for us? And then Francis will give us final words. And then of course you can put in your view of, you know, the program, the event, our community event. What do you think about today's event and stuff? Yeah. Prof.
Hello. Yes. Sorry, you can see that my life
Yes.
has been hijacked by the battalion, and I'm very sorry.
I know.
You want me to give my final words? Huh?
Final words, yes. Mm.
Well, I mean, look, I need to respond to the other righteousness of life, which is family first. So, yeah, look, I think I had Francis summarizing. I think you need everything you can get. You need your networks. I could never have made it without the networks I have. Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, I could never have made it without the networks I had. There was just one moment where someone, when I was doing my national service at the University of Ghana, a professor requested me to help someone to do some Excel computation. And the person was so impressed and connected me to some other person who connected me with some opportunities to apply. And then that was a very good stepping stone. So you need like I said, you need the skill, but you also need the network, yeah? Certification is good, but that's not a silver bullet, okay? Yeah, look, I think I need to go now. I'm very sorry, but definitely very interesting conversation, yeah?
Yes, sure. Yes, sure. You have been very, very helpful.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Thank you, Prof. So I'll reach out to you after. Yeah. Okay. Francis, please, any last words before you go? I know you have to join your office hour now.
Oh yeah, no, Charity. First, thank you for organizing this. I think a lot has been thrown at
Yes.
everyone over the last couple of hours.
Yes.
The most important thing at every point is focusing on the things within your control, right? What is within your control? Choosing the right courses at your undergrad level for those of you in school. Be very intentional about the courses that you are selecting with one eye on the career you want to have. One thing I've shown you is I've pivoted quite a lot over the course of my journey. So when you reach a point where you need to pivot into a different area, don't be too bothered or don't be too worried, because once you are on the path of learning, once you are not stopping and resting on your laurels, there will be a lot of opportunities for you. And then Clement mentioned some word which I also use a lot. There will be moments in your career where you see that you have a momentum, right? When you have those momentum, leverage them. Like if you need to leverage those momentum, and then also seek mentorship. Seek mentorship. Talk to people who have lived the life that you want to live. Don't be Stop going to people who are not living the life you want to live. Discouraging, right? So once you have determined what you want to do, begin to angle towards the people who can tell you how the road is. Like for me, I have just shown you, I've just opened my life up to you. You
Yeah.
can see the mistakes I've made along the way. You can see, but I eventually ended up where I want to end up. If I had sought mentorship from the beginning, maybe the journey would have been rosier. We don't know. But then you focus on the things within your control. So, Charity, nothing
Yeah.
from me. I thank you and everyone for organizing. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Prof. This has been really, really Prof. Francis. I think I can start calling you Prof. Francis now, because the amount of information that you have shared with us has been really, really, really insightful. Let me tell you, I have literally learned a lot, And as somebody who is planning my strategy for next year, of course, I'll reach out to you about the details and all that. But yeah, I have learned so much, and I'm sure our community members, please show some love in the comments if you were really, impacted during, and then I will send your love to Francis. So thank you so much, Francis. Of course, you can leave now whilst we close out our call. So I will call you.
Salute.
And please, yeah, we'll join your next office hour today. We'll join. I will push all my people to come and join your office hour today. Thank you, thank you. So thank you so much, everybody. If you have any question, Francis has to actually start his office hour right now. That is why it's as if we kept him so that he couldn't prepare. So he has to go prepare for office hour. And I'll encourage you, if you are not able to join today, please register. He has a waiting list. I will send it via email and also to our community group to those who want to. Like I mentioned, my goal is that I have to go off video. My goal is that we are able to draw a career strategy. And when I talk about career strategy, I know some of us are entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurship is also a career. So it is about time that we start planning. Please plan. And we've gotten so much information from Francis today that will help us to be able to plan a whole international. It doesn't matter where you are right now, because even me, somebody who has had so much going on for me, I still feel like, oh my God, there's so much that I can do. So if you are at the very beginning of your career right now, I don't want you to fret or be worried. Oh, I'm now starting. Remember, it only takes a year to move from where you are to where you want to be. Some people even use 6 months to do that. So I'm going to close out. Does anybody have anything for us before I close out? Okay. All right. So please send me your questions via email if you're on WhatsApp group. Thank you all so much for joining today's call. It's really be an honor to host everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day, and bye-bye.